What if I told you there's a place on Earth that feels more like a dream than a destination? A land where the mountains rise like ancient cathedrals, where deserts stretch beyond imagination, and where every stone carries the weight of history. This is Yemen, one of the oldest civilizations on the planet, a country that has survived through empires, trade routes, and centuries of change. You might think you know Yemen from headlines, but those stories only show one side of the truth. Behind the chaos lies a hidden world of breathtaking beauty, towering mud brick cities, mysterious ruins, and landscapes that look like they belong on another planet. Yemen is not just a country, it's a living museum, a land that has preserved its identity through time. In this documentary, we're not just traveling, we're stepping into the past. We're witnessing a world that has endured and continues to survive against all odds. So, if you're ready to see a place that most people will never experience, join me as we explore Yemen, an extraterrestrial land on Earth. Before you decide what this place is, forget everything you think you know about Earth. Forget familiar skylines, predictable landscapes, and cities that follow modern rules. What you are about to see feels unreal, as if someone stitched fragments of another planet into our world. This is Yemen, a land so ancient, so visually striking, that it feels less like a country and more like a forgotten chapter of science fiction written by nature itself. From the very first glance, Yemen refuses to be ordinary. Towering mountains rise sharply from the earth, their edges carved by wind and time into shapes that seem intentional, almost designed. Valleys stretch wide and silent, holding secrets older than recorded history. Villages appear suddenly, clinging to cliffs as if gravity were optional. The colors here are not subtle. Deep reds, burnt browns, and some bleached golds dominate the land, giving the terrain a raw, otherworldly intensity. As the camera moves closer, something astonishing happens. Cities emerge that do not resemble anything built in the modern age. In places like Sana'a, massive buildings rise vertically from the ground, some reaching 7 or 8 stories high, constructed almost entirely from earth, stone, and tradition. These are not ruins. These are living structures, inhabited for centuries, standing tall without steel or concrete. Their geometric patterns, white-trimmed windows, and ancient symmetry make them look like they belong in a futuristic desert colony rather than on Earth. What makes this even more unbelievable is time. These cities were not built recently. They have stood for hundreds, even thousands of years. While much of the world was still discovering architecture, Yemen was perfecting it. Every wall, every window, every narrow alley tells a story of survival, innovation, and deep connection to the land. It feels as though Yemen discovered the future long before the rest of the world imagined it. Move beyond the cities, and the landscape grows even more alien. Terraced mountainsides curve like massive staircases carved in the stone, climbing toward the sky. These terraces are not decorative. They are ancient systems of agriculture, built to capture water, grow crops, and sustain life in harsh conditions. From above, they resemble massive patterns etched into the planet's surface, as if left behind by an advanced civilization long gone. There is a profound silence here, not emptiness, but stillness, the kind that makes every sound feel meaningful. Wind brushing against stone, footsteps echoing through narrow paths, the distant call of life carried across valleys. Yemen does not overwhelm with noise. It commands attention through presence. And yet, this land is not frozen in the past. Life moves through it every day. Children walk ancient streets. Markets pulse with color and motion. Smoke rises from kitchens tucked inside mud brick towers. The contrast is striking. A place that looks extraterrestrial, yet feels deeply human. A reminder that beauty does not need modern polish to be powerful. Yemen's geography feels intentional, almost symbolic. Mountains form natural fortresses. Deserts stretch like oceans of stone and sand. The land itself seems to test those who live upon it, demanding resilience, patience, and respect. And in return, it offers something rare: identity, depth, a sense of belonging to something far older than any single lifetime. This is not a destination shaped by trends or tourism. Yemen stands apart, untouched by many of the forces that smooth the edges of the modern world. Its rawness is its strength. Its isolation preserved what time often erases elsewhere. To look at Yemen is to look at Earth before it learned to simplify itself. As this journey begins, understand one thing clearly. Yemen is not here to impress you quickly. It reveals itself slowly, layer by layer. What seems strange at first becomes mesmerizing. What feels distant becomes unforgettable. This is a land that challenges perception and rewards curiosity. Welcome to Yemen, an extraterrestrial land on Earth. If Yemen feels extraterrestrial from afar, its cities confirm it up close. Step into the heart of this land, and the skyline immediately breaks every rule you expect cities to follow. There are no glass towers, no steel frames reaching for attention. Instead, the buildings rise from the earth itself, tall, narrow, and organic, as if the ground decided to stand up and become architecture. Sana'a is the most striking example. From above, the city looks like a carefully arranged model, each structure stacked vertically, painted in shades of clay, amber, and sand. But these are not models. They are real homes, some over 1,000 years old, still standing, still alive. These mud brick skyscrapers soar up to 8 stories high, decorated with white gypsum patterns that frame windows like ancient symbols. The design is precise, almost mathematical, yet deeply artistic. Nothing here feels accidental. Walking through the streets of Old Sana'a feels like entering a living museum that never stopped breathing. Narrow alleyways twist and turn, creating shadows that shift with the sun. Doors are heavy and carved, worn smooth by generations of hands. Every corner holds texture, history, and purpose. These buildings were not just constructed to shelter people, but to protect them from heat, cold, wind, and time itself. What makes this architecture truly astonishing is its intelligence. The lower floors were traditionally used for storage, keeping food cool. Living spaces sat above, catching airflow through carefully placed windows. The highest floors were reserved for gathering, prayer, or reflection, offering views across the city and beyond. Long before modern urban planning existed, Yemen had mastered vertical living in harmony with nature. And Sana'a is only one chapter of this architectural story. Across Yemen, cities and towns follow the same philosophy while expressing it differently. In Shibam, often called the Manhattan of the desert, entire neighborhoods rise from the sand in perfect vertical alignment. These towers stand tightly packed, forming a defensive city that once protected its people from floods and invaders. From a distance, Shibam looks like a futuristic fortress dropped into an ancient valley. The materials used are humble, yet powerful. Mud, stone, lime, and wood. Nothing artificial, everything local. These cities were built with what the land provided, shaped by experience rather than theory. That is why they blend so seamlessly into their surroundings. The buildings do not dominate the landscape, they belong to it. Light plays a crucial role here. As the sun moves, the cities transform. Morning light softens the edges, bathing walls in gold. Midday reveals sharp contrasts, highlighting the geometry. At sunset, everything glows deep orange and red, making the entire city feel alive, as if it is breathing with the land beneath it. Despite their age, these cities are not frozen in time. Life moves through them constantly. Voices echo from windows. Merchants open wooden shutters. Children run through passages that have existed longer than many nations. The past and present coexist effortlessly, without conflict. In a world racing towards sameness, Yemen's cities stand as proof that innovation does not always mean new materials or modern designs. Sometimes, the most advanced solutions are the oldest ones. These cities were built to last, to adapt, and to endure. Here, architecture is not just about buildings. It is about identity, memory, survival. And as you look at these towering earthen cities, one thing becomes clear. Yemen did not copy the future. It created its own version of it centuries ago. Beyond the cities, Yemen rises upward, pulling the land toward the sky. The mountains here are not gentle slopes or distant backdrops. They are massive, commanding, and alive. From the moment you begin to climb, it becomes clear that these highlands are not just geography. They are a way of life, shaping everything from movement and architecture to identity and survival. The roads twist sharply, carved into stone with breathtaking precision. One turn opens into clouds drifting below you. The next reveals entire villages balanced along cliffs, their buildings stacked like extensions of the mountain itself. From a distance, it is difficult to tell where the rock ends and human construction begins. Stone walls rise from stone ground, blending so perfectly that the villages appear grown rather than built. These mountain settlements feel impossible. How could people choose to live here? And yet, they have for centuries. Isolation was once protection. Height meant safety from floods, invaders, and the harshest heat of the lowlands. Life at altitude demanded strength, patience, and deep knowledge of the land. Every path, every terrace, every doorway exists for a reason. The air is cooler here, thinner, and filled with silence. Wind carries the scent of earth and distant vegetation. Sounds travel far, echoing between peaks and valleys. The scale of the mountains makes human presence feel small, yet purposeful. These are not places of conquest, but coexistence. One of the most astonishing sights is the terraced mountainsides. Layer upon layer of stone walls curve along steep slopes, forming enormous steps that climb toward the sky. These terraces were built by hand, without modern machinery, over generations. They capture rainwater, prevent erosion, and create fertile land where none should exist. From above, they resemble giant patterns etched into the planet, as if left behind by an advanced civilization. But these terraces are not relics. They are still used. Crops grow where bare rock should dominate. Life continues in spaces that appear hostile to it. This is not nature being tamed. It is nature being understood. Travel deeper, and the mountains reveal contrasts. Some areas are lush and green, fed by seasonal rains and careful water management. Others are stark and dramatic, where bare stone stretches endlessly. Clouds roll in suddenly, wrapping peaks in mist, transforming the landscape into something dreamlike and surreal. Despite the harshness, there is warmth here. Villages feel close-knit, bound by shared effort and mutual reliance. Homes are built thick and solid, designed to hold heat at night and stay cool during the day. Windows are small and purposeful. Roofs double as gathering spaces, places to talk, rest, and look out across valleys that stretch for miles. The mountains of Yemen do not offer comfort easily. They demand respect, but, in return, they offer something rare in the modern world: perspective. From these heights, time feels slower, concerns shrink. The world below seems distant and unreal. Standing here, watching shadows move across the land, it becomes clear why Yemen feels extraterrestrial. These mountains do not resemble familiar landscapes. They feel ancient, untouched, and vast, as if Earth briefly forgot to simplify itself here. This is Yemen, at its most powerful. A land that rises, not to impress, but to endure. Far from the mountains and cities of the mainland, beyond the familiar rhythms of Yemen, lies a place that feels truly disconnected from the rest of the world. Socotra Island does not look like it belongs on Earth. Even scientists struggle to describe it without using words like alien, prehistoric, or surreal. This is not just another island. It is one of the most otherworldly landscapes ever discovered. As the island comes into view, the terrain immediately feels strange. Jagged mountains rise abruptly from flat plains. White sand beaches curve along turquoise waters, while the interior reveals dry valleys and rocky plateaus shaped by time alone. There's a sense that nature here followed different rules, evolving in isolation for millions of years. The most iconic symbol of Socotra is the dragon blood tree. With its thick trunk and umbrella-shaped canopy, it looks like something imagined rather than grown. These trees seem frozen in motion, their branches stretching outward in perfect symmetry. When cut, they release a deep red resin, once believed to have mystical properties. Scattered across the highlands, dragon blood trees transform the landscape into a scene that feels more like a distant planet than an island on Earth. But the strangeness does not end there. Over a third of Socotra's plant life exists nowhere else in the world. Bottle trees swell with water, shaped like living sculptures. Delicate flowers bloom in harsh soil, surviving where logic says they should not. Every step across the island reveals something unfamiliar, something that challenges the idea of what life can look like. The silence of Socotra is profound. Away from the coast, the island feels untouched by modern noise. Wind moves through strange vegetation. Waves crash against limestone cliffs. The land feels ancient and patient, as if it has been waiting to be noticed. This isolation protected Socotra for thousands of years, allowing life to evolve without interference. Yet people have lived here too, adapting just as uniquely as the plants around them. Small communities rely on fishing, herding, and deep knowledge of the land. Homes are simple, shaped by necessity rather than design trends. Life follows the rhythms of nature, guided by seasons, wind, and water. There is no rush here. Time feels slower, more deliberate. The coastline reveals another side of the island. Clear waters stretch endlessly, revealing coral reefs beneath the surface. White beaches meet dramatic rock formations, where the desert seems to collide with the sea. At sunset, the entire island glows, shadows stretching long across the plains, turning Socotra into a living painting. What makes Socotra so powerful is not just its beauty, but its rarity. Places like this no longer exist in most of the world. It is a reminder of what Earth looked like before roads, cities, and borders reshaped it. Standing here, it feels impossible to believe this island shares the same planet as crowded metropolises and modern skylines. Socotra does not try to be welcoming in the way tourist destinations do. It offers no shortcuts, no spectacle designed for comfort. Instead, it invites quiet observation, curiosity, respect. In Socotra, Yemen reveals its most extraterrestrial face, a place where evolution took a different path, and where Earth briefly feels like somewhere else entirely. As the land stretches away from the mountains and the sea, Yemen opens into vast spaces that feel endless and untamed. Here, the horizon seems to move farther the longer you look at it. Deserts, plateaus, and ancient valleys dominate the landscape, creating scenes so empty and immense they feel unreal. This is Yemen at its most raw, where silence becomes a presence and space itself tells a story. The deserts of Yemen are not endless seas of sand like those found elsewhere. They are complex, textured, and dramatic. Wide gravel plains extend for miles, broken by rocky outcrops and wind-carved formations. Sand dunes rise in waves of gold and copper, constantly reshaped by the wind. The light here is unforgiving, revealing every contour, every shadow, every detail etched by time. In these vast regions, the land feels ancient beyond measure. Valleys known as wadi cut deep paths through stone, formed by rare but powerful floods that surge through the desert. For most of the year, these wadis lie dry and silent, their beds cracked and pale. Yet when rain comes, they transform instantly, filling with water and life. This cycle of stillness and sudden movement defines survival here. Across the plateaus, stone villages appear like mirages. Built low and sturdy, they blend into the landscape so completely that they are almost invisible from afar. These settlements exist where logic says they should not. Water is scarce. The sun is relentless. And yet, life continues, shaped by generations who learned how to read the land instead of fighting it. Trade once moved through these spaces, connecting Yemen to the ancient world. Caravans cross these deserts, carrying incense, spices, and stories between Africa, Asia, and the Mediterranean. These routes turned empty landscapes into lifelines of civilization. Even now, there is a sense of movement frozen in the land, as if echoes of those journeys still linger in the air. The desert changes character as the day unfolds. Morning light softens the land, revealing subtle colors hidden in stone and sand. By midday, heat sharpens everything, turning the world stark and intense. At dusk, the desert transforms again. Shadows stretch endlessly. The sky ignites with deep reds and purples. For a brief moment, the land feels infinite and timeless. What makes Yemen's deserts feel extraterrestrial is their scale and purity. There is nothing to distract the eye. No structures to break the horizon. No sounds beyond wind and distant movement. Standing here, the modern world feels distant, almost imaginary. It is easy to believe this land existed long before human memory, and will remain long after. Despite the harshness, these landscapes hold a quiet beauty. Stars dominate the night sky with clarity rarely seen elsewhere. Without city lights, the universe feels closer, larger, and more alive. The desert becomes a bridge between Earth and the cosmos. This is the Yemen few ever see, a land of extremes where survival is an art and emptiness carries meaning. In these vast spaces, Yemen reveals another layer of its alien beauty. Not loud, not dramatic, but profound, humbling, and endlessly powerful. Beneath Yemen's landscapes lies a story far older than its mountains, cities, or deserts. This land was once one of the most important centers of the ancient world. Long before modern borders, long before empires rose elsewhere, Yemen stood at the heart of global trade, wealth, and influence. Its history feels almost mythical, yet its traces are written across the land. Thousands of years ago, Yemen was known as Arabia Felix, the fortunate Arabia. While much of the surrounding region was harsh and unforgiving, Yemen flourished. Rain-fed agriculture, advanced irrigation systems, and strategic trade routes turned it into a land of prosperity. From here, incense and spices traveled across continents, reaching temples, palaces, and markets far beyond the Arabian Peninsula. The incense trade shaped Yemen's destiny. Frankincense and myrrh were once more valuable than gold, and Yemen controlled their flow. Caravans crossed deserts and mountains, linking Yemen to Africa, India, and the Mediterranean world. Cities grew wealthy, kingdoms rose. Power flowed through valleys that now sit silent and forgotten. The ancient kingdoms of Saba, Himyar, and Qataban left behind ruins that still whisper their presence. Massive stone temples stand weathered but defiant. Inscriptions carved into rock speak of gods, kings, and victories long erased from popular memory. These ruins do not feel distant or decorative. They feel alive, as if the land itself remembers what once stood here. One of the greatest achievements of ancient Yemen was its mastery of water. The Marib Dam, built thousands of years ago, was an engineering marvel of its time. It transformed arid land into fertile fields, sustaining entire civilizations. This was not accidental success. It was the result of deep understanding of nature and long-term thinking rarely seen even today. Yemen's position made it a crossroads of cultures and ideas. African influences blended with Arabian traditions. Trade brought languages, beliefs, and technologies together. Over centuries, this fusion shaped a unique identity that still defines the land. You can feel it in the architecture, hear it in the language, and see it in traditions that survived against all odds. As centuries passed, religions moved through Yemen, leaving deep spiritual footprints. Judaism, Christianity, and later Islam all found roots here. Mosques and ancient places of worship stand quietly, integrated into daily life rather than set apart. Faith in Yemen has always been woven into the rhythm of existence, not separated from it. Time, however, was not gentle. Trade routes shifted, empires fell, wealth faded, but Yemen endured. Instead of erasing its past, time layered over it. Ancient ruins sit beside medieval cities. Traditions pass through generations unchanged. History here is not locked behind glass. It is walked on, lived in, and carried forward. What makes Yemen's history feel extraterrestrial is its depth. It does not unfold in a straight line. It circles back on itself, revealing civilizations that feel both distant and strangely familiar. Standing among these ruins, it is easy to forget the present world exists at all. Yemen is not just a place shaped by history. It is history itself, written in stone, water, and memory. And as you move through this land, you are not just traveling across geography. You are crossing thousands of years of human ambition, brilliance, and survival. To understand Yemen, you have to understand its people. The landscapes may feel alien, the architecture futuristic, and the history ancient, but it is the human presence that gives this land its soul. In a place shaped by extremes, the people of Yemen carry a quiet strength that mirrors the land itself. Daily life here moves at a different rhythm. In mountain villages, mornings begin with soft light spilling over stone walls and rooftops. In cities, markets slowly come alive as wooden shutters open and voices fill narrow streets. There is no rush to escape the day. Time is treated with patience, not pressure. Hospitality is central to Yemeni culture. Visitors are not treated as outsiders, but as guests. A shared meal, a cup of tea, or a simple conversation becomes an unspoken bond. This openness feels especially powerful in a land often misunderstood from afar. Behind every doorway is warmth, generosity, and a deep sense of dignity. Traditional clothing reflects both identity and environment. Flowing garments protect against heat and wind, while patterns and styles vary from region to region. Men often wear the jambia, a curved dagger worn at the waist, not as a weapon, but as a symbol of heritage and honor. Women's clothing tells stories through color, embroidery, and craftsmanship passed down through generations. Markets are the heartbeat of Yemeni life. They are places of exchange, not just of goods, but of stories and relationships. Spices fill the air with rich aromas. Silver jewelry catches the light. Handmade items reflect skills refined over centuries. Every stall represents continuity in a world that has changed rapidly elsewhere. In rural areas, life remains closely tied to the land. Farming, terraces are maintained by hand. Livestock are guided through steep paths. Water is shared carefully, treated as the precious resource it is. Survival here is collective. Communities rely on cooperation, trust, and shared responsibility. Despite challenges, there is pride in tradition. Songs, poetry, and oral storytelling continue to play an important role. History is remembered not only through books, but through spoken word. Elders pass knowledge forward, ensuring that memory does not fade. What is striking is the contrast between the harshness of the environment and the softness of human connection. In landscapes that seem unforgiving, kindness thrives. Laughter echoes through stone villages. Children play in places that appear impossible to call home. Life persists, not by resisting the land, but by adapting to it. Yemen's people do not separate themselves from their surroundings. Their identity is rooted in place, shaped by mountains, deserts, and centuries of survival. This connection gives them resilience that cannot be measured by modern standards. In a world that often defines progress by speed and change, Yemen offers a different definition. Here, endurance is success, memory is strength, community is survival. The people of Yemen are not relics of the past. They are the living continuation of a story that began thousands of years ago. And in their daily lives, Yemen's most powerful truth becomes clear. Even in the most otherworldly places on Earth, humanity finds a way to belong. As the land finally descends from mountains and deserts, Yemen opens itself to the sea. Here, the landscape shifts once again, reminding you that this country is not defined by a single face. The coastline stretches long and untamed, where rugged cliffs meet endless blue waters and ancient ports sit quietly along the edge of history. This is Yemen's meeting point between isolation and connection, where land gives way to the wider world. Along the shores of the Red Sea and the Arabian Sea, the air changes. Salt replaces dust. The wind carries stories of sailors, traders, and travelers who once arrived from distant horizons. For centuries, Yemen's coast was a gateway linking Africa, Asia, and the Middle East. Long before modern shipping routes, wooden dhows crossed these waters, guided by stars and seasonal winds. Coastal cities grew as centers of exchange. Goods, cultures, and ideas flowed through ports that now seem forgotten by time. Stone buildings face the sea, weathered by sun and salt, standing as witnesses to centuries of movement. These towns feel quieter today, but the sense of history lingers in every pier, every narrow street leading inland. The sea itself is alive with contrast. Calm turquoise waters near the shore give way to deeper blues farther out. Coral reefs lie beneath the surface, hidden worlds filled with color and motion. Fishing boats glide slowly across the water, continuing traditions passed down through generations. Life here follows the tides, shaped by patience and knowledge of the sea. Beyond the cities, the coastline becomes wild. Cliffs rise sharply from the water, their surfaces carved by wind and waves into dramatic shapes. Beaches stretch empty for miles, untouched and silent. In these places, it feels as if the land is still deciding what it wants to become. The boundary between earth and ocean blurs, creating scenes that feel raw and unfinished. Islands scattered offshore add another layer of mystery. Isolated and rarely visited, they feel like fragments broken away from the mainland. Here, nature dominates completely. Birds circle overhead, waves crash endlessly against rock. Human presence is minimal, almost temporary, as if the land belongs more to the sea than to people. Sunrise and sunset transform the coast into something unforgettable. Morning light paints the water soft silver and gold. At dusk, the sky ignites, reflecting deep reds and purples across the waves. Shadows stretch long across beaches and cliffs, making the coastline feel vast and timeless. What makes Yemen's coastal regions so powerful is their sense of distance from the modern world. There are no crowded resorts, no carefully arranged views. Everything feels honest, unfiltered. The sea does not perform. It simply exists, constant and indifferent, just as it has for thousands of years. Standing at the edge of Yemen's shores, it becomes clear how this land once reached far beyond its borders. These waters carried Yemen's influence across continents, even as the country itself remained deeply rooted and unchanged. Here, Yemen feels both open and remote at the same time, connected to the world, yet separate from it. A reminder that even the most extraterrestrial landscapes are shaped not only by what they contain, but by what they touch. This is Yemen's edge, where Earth ends, water begins, and history quietly drifts into the horizon. Yemen's deserts are not just empty spaces. They are living landscapes with their own language, their own rules, and their own kind of beauty. When you step into the desert, you feel how vast and ancient the world really is. The sky opens wide, and the land stretches endlessly, as if time itself has slowed down. The desert is where Yemen reveals its rawest side. The heat is intense, the wind is constant, and the ground looks like a cracked map of the earth. But the desert is not just harsh, it is also strangely alive. Life survives here not by force, but by precision. Every plant, every animal, every human settlement is shaped by the need to conserve, to endure, to adapt. The most powerful thing about Yemen's deserts is the silence. It's not the kind of silence you hear in a city. It's deeper, heavier, and more complete. You can hear your own breath. You can hear the wind moving across dunes. You can feel the weight of the sun. But the desert is not empty. It is full of signs, ancient paths, hidden water sources, and ruins that suggest a world once thriving here. Caravans crossed these lands for centuries, carrying incense, spices, and treasures. The desert was a highway of trade, a place where empires met and collided. Even today, you can sense those old routes in the shape of the land. Some of the most striking scenes in Yemen are the desert plateaus. These flat expanses feel like another planet. The ground looks cracked and patterned, like a giant dried lake. The horizon stretches so far that it feels impossible. The air shimmers in the heat, creating mirages that seem real until you move closer and they vanish. At night, the desert becomes even more intense. Without city lights, the sky becomes a deep black canvas filled with stars. The Milky Way stretches across the heavens like a bright river. You can see constellations clearly, and the silence becomes so complete it almost feels physical. In those moments, you understand why ancient travelers used the desert as a place of reflection and pilgrimage. The desert forces you to look inward. Desert life in Yemen is also a story of survival. Communities that live here have developed systems to manage scarce resources. Water is not wasted, shade is valued. Every aspect of life is designed around the environment. It's a harsh education, but it creates a kind of resilience that is rare in modern societies. The desert also holds secrets, hidden valleys, ancient rock formations, and unexpected oases. Some areas reveal rock carvings and ancient inscriptions, proof that humans have been here for thousands of years. These traces are not always obvious. They often require careful attention, patience, and respect for the land. What makes Yemen's deserts feel extraterrestrial is their timelessness. In the desert, modern life fades. There are no advertisements, no noise, no distractions. The land feels as it did long before people arrived. It is a reminder that the world existed long before us and will continue after us. The desert is not just a place to visit. It is a place to experience. It changes you, not through excitement or thrill, but through quiet awe. It teaches you how small you are, how powerful nature is, and how much history can be contained in a single stretch of sand. In Yemen, the desert is not a backdrop. It is a character. It is a force that shaped civilizations, inspired stories, and still challenges those who dare to enter it. This is the heart of Yemen's wildness, the part that feels like it belongs to another world entirely. When you think you've seen Yemen's extremes, the final chapter reveals the most unexpected truth. Yemen is not just a land of ancient ruins, mountains, deserts, and sea. It is a living story of survival, resilience, and beauty that refuses to be erased. This is where everything comes together. The history, the people, the landscapes, and the spirit. And as you move through this chapter, you realize why Yemen has been called an extraterrestrial land on Earth. Yemen's story is not just about the past. It is about the present, about a country that has faced immense challenges and still holds on to its identity. The world often focuses on conflict and struggle, but the deeper truth is the strength that remains. Yemen's people continue to live, to build, to love, and to protect what they have inherited. This is not a story of defeat. It is a story of endurance. If you travel through Yemen, you will notice something that stands out more than anything else. The land itself feels ancient and untouched, but the people are not frozen in time. They are modern, aware, and connected, yet they carry tradition like a shield. In villages and cities, you can see a blend of old and new satellite dishes on stone roofs, modern clothes beside traditional garments, and smartphones in the hands of people who still follow ancient customs. This contrast is not confusing. It is powerful. It shows how Yemen adapts without losing itself. It shows that culture is not a museum. It is alive, and it changes, but it does not disappear. Yemen's architecture is a perfect example. The towering buildings in old cities, made from mud and stone, seem to rise out of the earth like they were always meant to be there. These structures are not just homes. They are statements. They represent a deep understanding of the environment. The thick walls keep heat out and coolness in. The design is both practical and beautiful. It is a kind of architecture that modern cities rarely achieve. The old city of Sana'a, with its ancient towers and narrow streets, feels like a dream. Every building tells a story. Every alley leads to a hidden courtyard. Walking through it, you can feel the weight of centuries. Yet the city is not a relic. It is alive, filled with people who carry on daily life with dignity and pride. The same is true in Shibam, often called the Manhattan of the desert. These mud brick towers rise high above the surrounding plains, creating a skyline that looks almost impossible. But it is real, and it is centuries old. This city is proof that Yemen's creativity was not limited by its environment. Instead, the environment inspired innovation. Yemen's natural beauty also plays a major role in its identity. From the mountains to the sea, every landscape has its own story. The land is harsh, but it is also breathtaking. It challenges you to see beauty in places where others might only see danger. The final truth about Yemen is this: it is a land that refuses to be defined by outsiders. It is a country that has been misunderstood for too long. Yemen is not a single story. It is many stories layered together. It is a place where history lives in the present, where nature dominates, and where people carry the weight of centuries with grace. So what does it feel like to stand in Yemen? It feels like standing on the edge of time. It feels like being in a place that exists beyond ordinary reality. It feels like discovering a world that was meant to remain hidden. Yemen is not just a destination. It is a reminder. A reminder that the earth still holds places that can surprise you, challenge you, and change you. A reminder that history is not only in books. It is in the stones, the mountains, the sea, and the people. If you ever get the chance to see Yemen, you will understand why it has been called an extraterrestrial land on Earth. Because here, the past is not distant. It is present, and it lives in a way that makes the world feel larger, older, and more mysterious than you ever imagined. Yemen is often described as a land of extremes, but what truly makes it extraordinary is not just the harshness of its deserts or the height of its mountains. It's the way the country holds together through beauty, culture, and history, despite everything that has tried to break it apart. In this chapter, We move deeper into what makes Yemen feel like another world, and why its spirit is so difficult to forget. The first thing you notice in Yemen is the silence. Not the quiet of emptiness, but the silence of deep presence. In many places, there are no loud noises of modern life, no constant traffic, no blaring advertisements. Instead, you hear the wind, the birds, and the soft sound of daily life. The silence makes everything feel bigger. The landscapes feel larger than life, and the people feel more connected to the land. This connection is visible in the way people live. In rural Yemen, homes are built from the materials available around them: mud, stone, and wood. The buildings blend into the landscape so naturally that it almost feels like the land is growing houses. This is architecture that respects nature rather than trying to dominate it. Even the most basic details reveal a deep understanding of the environment. Roofs are flat to collect rainwater. Walls are thick to keep the heat out. Narrow streets create shade. Everything is designed to survive. It's not about luxury. It's about harmony with the land. But Yemen is not only about survival, it is also about beauty. The country has a unique aesthetic that feels both ancient and modern. The patterns in clothing, the designs on buildings, and the colors of the landscapes all create a visual language that is unmistakable. It's a style that doesn't need trends because it has always been itself. And then there are the stories. Yemen is a place where stories are not just told, they are lived. From ancient legends of kingdoms and queens to modern tales of resilience, the narrative of Yemen is written in the lives of its people. Poetry is still a powerful force here. It is not just entertainment, it is a way of expressing identity, emotions, and values. Poetry is spoken in gatherings, in homes, and in markets. It is a living tradition that keeps the past alive. The same can be said about music. Traditional Yemeni music has a haunting quality. It can be both joyful and sorrowful at the same time. It carries a sense of longing, as if the land itself is speaking through sound. In many ways, the music reflects the spirit of Yemen: strong, proud, and deeply emotional. Yemen's food also tells a story. It is simple, yet rich in flavor. Spices are used with care. Bread is baked in traditional ovens. Meals are shared, often in a communal way, which reinforces the importance of family and community. Food is not just nourishment, it is a form of connection. As you travel through Yemen, you also feel the weight of time. This is a place where history is not separated from the present. Ancient ruins stand beside modern buildings. Old traditions exist alongside new technologies. The past is not locked away. It is part of everyday life. This is what makes Yemen feel extraterrestrial. The way time seems to move differently here. It doesn't rush forward, it layers itself. Every step you take is a step through centuries. The land holds memory like a living thing. And yet, despite all the beauty and history, Yemen is a place that has suffered. The struggles of recent years have affected every part of life. But even in the face of hardship, the spirit of the people remains. They continue to protect their culture, their homes, and their sense of identity. They continue to live with dignity. That is the most important truth about Yemen. It is not defined by its challenges. It is defined by its endurance. Yemen is a land that refuses to disappear. In the end, Yemen does not feel like a destination on a map. It feels like a journey through time. It feels like a reminder that the world still holds places that are powerful, mysterious, and unforgettable. Places that can change the way you see history, culture, and even your own life. Yemen is not just a country. It is a living memory. And in that memory, you find something rare, a place that still holds its soul. Yemen is a land that tests you, not because it wants to, but because it is shaped by forces far greater than human control. It is a country where the landscape itself feels like a challenge: mountains that rise sharply from the earth, deserts that stretch endlessly, and seas that crash against rugged cliffs. Yet Yemen is also a place of incredible beauty, and that beauty is not soft or gentle. It is bold, raw, and unforgettable. When you stand at the edge of a Yemeni cliff, looking out at the sea, you realize how isolated the country truly is. The coastline feels like the boundary of the world. It is as if the land has been holding on to its secrets, refusing to reveal them. The sea seems to guard Yemen, keeping it separate from the rest of the world. But it also connects Yemen to distant lands, reminding you that this country was once a major player in global trade. The ocean is more than just a view. It is a living part of Yemen's history. Long before modern shipping, Yemeni sailors traveled across these waters in wooden boats. They navigated by stars, winds, and the patterns of the sea. They traded with Africa, India, and beyond. The coastline was once filled with bustling ports, where goods and ideas flowed freely. Today, many of those ports are quiet, but the sense of history remains. In the desert, Yemen's beauty takes on a different form. The landscape becomes minimal, almost abstract. The colors are muted browns, golds, and grays, but the effect is intense. The desert feels like a place where the world has been stripped down to its basic elements. It is a place where you can see the shape of the earth clearly, without distractions. The desert also has a strange kind of life. Plants grow in surprising places. Small animals adapt to extreme conditions. And people too find ways to survive. In Yemen, survival is not a struggle against nature. It is a partnership with it. People learn the land's rhythms. They know where water is hidden. They understand the patterns of the wind and the seasons. This knowledge is not written in books. It is passed down through generations. Yemen's mountains are where the land feels most alive. The mountain villages are built on steep slopes, and the terraces create a stunning visual effect. The fields appear like steps carved into the earth. The view from above is breathtaking. You can see how the land has been transformed through human effort, but without losing its natural shape. The mountains are a reminder that Yemen's people have always been builders who work with the land, not against it. The mountain air feels different. It is cooler, fresher, and cleaner. The landscape changes quickly. One moment you are surrounded by rocky cliffs, and the next you are in a green valley. The mountains are full of hidden beauty, and they hold the kind of silence that makes you feel small. In the mountains, you can feel the weight of history pressing down. You can sense the civilizations that once lived here, and the lives that have passed through these valleys for centuries. The final part of Yemen's story is its people. The strength of Yemen is not just in its landscapes or its history. It is in the people who continue to live here. Despite everything, they are not just surviving. They are maintaining a culture, a language, and a way of life that has lasted for thousands of years. Yemen's people have a quiet pride. They do not show off. They do not need to. Their pride comes from knowing who they are and where they come from. It comes from a connection to the land that cannot be broken. When you meet someone in Yemen, you can feel the depth of their history. It is not something they talk about. It is simply part of who they are. They carry it with them in the way they speak, the way they move, and the way they treat others. And that is what makes Yemen feel extraterrestrial. It is not because it is strange or unfamiliar. It is because it is ancient, powerful, and real. It is a place where time feels different. A place where the past is not behind you. It is all around you. Yemen is not a destination you visit. It is a story you experience. It is a country that leaves a mark on you, not because of its challenges, but because of its strength, beauty, and mystery. If you leave Yemen, you do not just leave a place. You leave a part of yourself that has been changed by what you have seen. Yemen is a reminder that the world still contains places that are beyond modern understanding, places that still feel like they belong to another world entirely. Yemen is a land of contradictions. It is ancient and modern at the same time. It is harsh and beautiful. It is quiet and full of stories. It is a place where the landscape feels untouched, yet every stone and every path carries a memory. In this final chapter, we step back and see Yemen as a whole, an extraordinary land that has survived through time and still holds a mystery that the world has not fully understood. One of the most powerful things about Yemen is its ability to preserve. In many countries, ancient sites are carefully protected and separated from daily life. In Yemen, history is not separated from the present. It is part of the everyday world. People live in buildings that have stood for centuries. They walk through streets that have seen empires rise and fall. They eat food prepared in ways that have not changed for generations. This continuity creates a deep sense of identity that is rare in the modern world. The land itself seems to hold memory like a living thing. The mountains, the deserts, the coastline, and the cities all feel like chapters in a story that never ends. Every landscape has a different character, and each one feels like a different world. The beauty of Yemen is not just in what you see, but in how it makes you feel. It makes you feel small, but also deeply connected to something greater. Yemen is a place where you can still feel the power of the past. The ancient kingdoms that once ruled here were among the most advanced in the world. Their achievements in architecture, engineering, and trade were extraordinary. The Marib Dam, for example, was one of the greatest engineering projects of the ancient world. It transformed the land, supported agriculture, and helped civilizations thrive. The dam was a symbol of human ingenuity, and it reminds us that Yemen was once a center of global influence. The ruins of ancient temples and cities are scattered across the land, and they are not just ruins. They are evidence of a world that existed long before modern history. When you stand among these ruins, you can feel the presence of people who lived thousands of years ago. Their lives were shaped by the same land, the same sky, and the same challenges. The difference is that they left behind structures that still stand today, as if to say, we were here. But Yemen is not only a story of the past, it is also a story of survival in the present. The challenges the country has faced in recent years are immense, yet the spirit of the people remains. In the face of hardship, Yemenis continue to protect their culture, their families, and their land. They continue to live with dignity, even when life is difficult. This resilience is one of the most powerful aspects of Yemen's identity. Yemen's beauty is not only in its landscapes, it is also in its people. The warmth of hospitality, the strength of community, and the pride and tradition create a culture that feels deeply human. In Yemen, you do not just see history, you feel it through the people who carry it forward. The final truth about Yemen is that it is a place that cannot be fully understood from a distance. You cannot truly know Yemen by reading about it or seeing pictures. You have to experience it. You have to walk its streets, climb its mountains, and listen to its stories. Only then can you begin to understand why this land feels like something beyond ordinary reality. Yemen is not just a destination. It is a journey through time. It is a reminder that the world still holds places that are wild, mysterious, and powerful. Places that challenge our assumptions and expand our understanding of what is possible. If you leave Yemen, you leave with more than memories. You leave with a new perspective. You leave with a deeper appreciation for the strength of the human spirit and the beauty of the earth. Yemen is an extraterrestrial land on Earth, not because it is strange, but because it is ancient, real, and unforgettable. It is a place that exists beyond the modern world, yet remains deeply connected to it. And that is why Yemen will always remain one of the most extraordinary places on the planet. Yemen is not just a country you visit, it's a world you feel. A place where history is not buried in museums, but lives in every stone, every village, and every valley. The beauty here is not gentle, it's raw, powerful, and unforgettable. If this journey has shown you anything, it's that Yemen is more than the stories you've heard. It is a land of resilience, of culture, and of ancient wonder, still standing, still alive, still waiting to be discovered. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this documentary, hit like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to see the world beyond the headlines. And remember, some places are not just beautiful, they are proof that history is still alive. Thanks for watching my video. I hope you enjoyed exploring Prague as much as I enjoyed guiding you through it. If you found this travel guide helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more beautiful destinations from around the world. Got a favorite spot in Prague? Drop it in the comments, I'd love to hear from you. Until next time, safe travels, and see you in the next video.